Welcome to Q&A with the party leader. I am Lauren Evanthia, the founder and leader of the Organic Humanity Movement. This is a new series I'm introducing to the OHM's YouTube channel. This is a series where you can ask me any question that you may have about the OHM, about the visions, about the principle, about the solution that we are proposing. Once a week, I will answer one question. Today's question is a question that I've received a lot in the past, and it's a question I was asked just yesterday. So I thought I would cover it today, hoping to lay this question to rest once and for all. And the question is, where does OHM stand on secession and Cape independence? So for clarity, let's define what secession is. Secession is the action of withdrawing formally from a federation or a body, usually a political state. Secession does not happen without drawing a lot of attention from the international community, which leads me to ask, where does the United Nations stand on secession and matters of independence? According to what I've researched, the United Nations has never vocally supported secession without the consent from the parent state. What does this mean for South Africa? Should there be independence declared? This means that if any group or body had to declare independence in South Africa, the United Nations, with all their resources, with all their peacekeeping forces, with all their member countries supporting them, would side with our government, with our current government, meaning that they would not be in support of secession. This is one of the main reasons why OHM would never support secession. It is short-sighted, it's a defeatist attitude, it's pessimistic, and as the saying goes, it's cutting off your nose to spite your face. This is the stance of the OHM, and it might sound harsh, but let's look at the facts. The United Nations works closely with our government. The United Nations works with the ANC ruling party, and it works closely with the DA government at local level. At national level, we have the National Development Plan, which has been formulated after Agenda 21. At local level, we have the Integrated Development Plan, which is also aligned very closely to Agenda 21. Agenda 21 basically is a document that the United Nations formulated a long time ago to get all governments in line with what they call sustainable development, but what I understand it to be is population control. To highlight how closely the UN works with our government, just one small example of many, UNESCO's offices are based inside the Department of Basic Education's building in Pretoria. It is clear to see that we have a puppet government in place that takes orders from global organizations. So if we have this perfect puppet government that does whatever the UN and similar organizations tells it what to do, there is no way that the United Nations, along with its member countries, would allow secession to take place peacefully, unless maybe that new independent state that is formed will declare allegiance to the United Nations goals and agenda. And that would make secession or independence pointless in the first place. Some more facts to consider. South Africa is an extremely wealthy nation, wealthy in terms of minerals and wealthy in terms of agricultural land. South Africa is also extremely diverse, probably more diverse than any other country in the world. And along with the diversity is also a lot of poverty. That poverty up until now has been our strength, because that poverty is the reason why South Africa is behind on meeting the Agenda 2030 Sustainable and Development Goals. Remember, this is a good thing. If Cape independence had to be declared, then the boundaries of this newly formed state would probably exclude some of the wealthiest parts of our country. And of course, even worse, exclude a vast majority of the population. We cannot progress as a nation, we cannot move forward if we're excluding the vast majority of the population from the solution. And we cannot allow the wealthiest parts of our country to remain in the hands of our oppressors, of our global oppressors. More than that, we cannot ignore the progress that we have made as a country over these past 2.5 decades, despite the challenges that we have faced. And we definitely cannot allow this country to be divided further. The more this country is divided, the easier it is to remain oppressed. This leads me to my next point, understanding the true enemy. We need to understand who and what the true enemy is. The real enemy isn't the ANC government or any one particular party. The real enemy to our political progress is the colonized political system that we inherited. This political system is a weapon used to oppress the people of South Africa so that we never become a sovereign nation, so that we never become stronger than all the other nations that have pillaged our resources. This has worked very successfully up until now, and encouraging things like secession and Cape independence only plays more into this global control and oppression that we face as a country. Secession is not a solution. Anyone wanting to declare independence, separating from South Africa in any way, is an enemy to freedom, an enemy to liberty, and an enemy to sovereignty. Looking at history, and specifically looking at what happened in the Congo when they were granted their independence, one can see how secession was a scapegoat that allowed the UN to come into the country and to take over and to destroy Congo's independence. Again, here's another example of how independence wasn't actually given. It's easy to see how secession resulted in the UN interfering in the country's politics and ensuring that Congo will never be free and that Congo will never be liberated. What happened in Congo proves that secession will never benefit the people wanting freedom and wanting independence. Secession only benefits those that have been pulling the strings behind the scenes all along. And the only ones benefiting from secession are the ones that have been telling politicians what to do and the ones controlling what presidents do and say. What we need is South Africa to be a sovereign country. According to our constitution, we are declared to be a sovereign country, but as I've said earlier, the influence that we have from global organizations such as the UN and the World Health Organization and our ties to the IMF make us far from sovereign. Sovereignty is the answer to our crisis in this country. Sovereignty basically means that as a country, we will lead without the influence from global organizations or without any other outside influences. Sovereignty means that we have a political and democratic system that allows people to elect representatives to lead them and to come up with solutions unique to complex South African issues. Sovereignty does not mean aligning with Agenda 21, nor does it mean aligning with the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals. Sovereignty doesn't mean adopting UNESCO's core curriculum. Sovereignty isn't listening to the World Health Organization during a pandemic, but rather calling upon our own experts to come up with solutions to the challenges we face. OHM wants to make South Africa sovereign by restructuring government itself, by changing how we elect our leaders so that we usher in a new and improved democratic system. We also want to lead without any influence from any global organization. These are the first steps in ensuring South Africa becomes sovereign. This is OHM's solution to South Africa's crisis, and it's a solution that includes every South African, and it's a solution that includes the whole of South Africa. If you have been to our meetings, you will know that this is an implementable plan, very possible in the foreseeable future. And if you want to be part of this movement, if you want to join in securing South Africa's sovereignty so that we can live in freedom without any outside control, then join the OHM. You can join the OHM by going to our website, which is linked in the description below, and you can sign up as a member and become part of this movement. There is no reason for the country to be divided any further. If we want to survive the challenges that lie ahead and the challenges we face now, we need to work together. We need to work as a nation. And we need to work to ensure that South Africa itself is not controlled from the outside, and we need to make sure that the government itself does not control the people. As all of us work towards the liberation of our country and our people, let's make sure we understand who the real enemy is, and let us not leave any person behind, and let us liberate the whole of South Africa. We can be an exceptionally strong country, and we can be a true example of what a democracy should look like in a world, and especially the Western world, that has completely lost freedom, lost individuality, and lost the concept of democracy a long time ago. Next week, I'll answer another question. Please submit your questions in the comment section below or email your questions to info@organichumanitymovement.org. Thank you for listening, and let me know what your thoughts are in the comments.